Hey Storm fans, Brent Cook here, and I am joined by Alex McKinley, Storm legend. Welcome, Alex.
Hey everybody, glad to be here.
And today we are talking the Epic Storm. We are going over the most recent list, 11.6, the first list post fire bans, as I'm calling it. And Alex, why don't we start in the main deck and then we'll go to the board? But realistically, we're probably going to jump around a little bit. So
hmm
let's kick it off. Our fetch land or our non-fetch lands did not change. Our fetchables did not change. So Badlands, Underground Sea, Volcanic Island, Swamp, Taiga, Trop. We didn't even change our swamp. We were never playing that snow-covered garbage. Always classic Invasion Swamp by Ron Spencer. No other choice. That's the only one you were allowed to play if you registered the Epic Storm. I think it was just law. So yeah, those are the rules.
I guess I'll have to turn in my nice beta one then. But the first change that we see to the deck list in this post-ban environment is the return of the third Bloodstained Mire and Verdant Catacombs returning to 2 copies. And this relates mostly to our sideboard changes. Overall, it's a relatively minor change to the main deck and just really emphasizes our red mana over our green mana.
Well, why is that, Alex?
With the banning of Oko Thief of Crowns and Dreadhorde and Arkham's Astrolabe, there's a little bit of a decrease in the metagame of all of these blue decks. We predict that the metagame will be a little bit more open, be more variety. So the utility of a card like Carpet of Flowers decreases significantly. So fetching for green mana on turn one, especially that tropical island, isn't nearly as important as it was pre-ban.
I would agree. So part of that is the Delver decks are more likely to be a little bit more aggressive. Blue red is looking like it's the Delver deck post ban, at least for now. So they run a basic mountain on top of their wastelands, only 4 to 5 islands total. So they're killing you pretty quickly. Carpet gains most of its value the longer the game goes, and that makes Carpet a little bit less valuable, but still really good in the matchup. Alex, I think Carpet got better somewhere else. Where would that be?
Yep, that's our big fair blue matchups. No longer can your opponent go Astrolabe off of a forest, play a plains, and then play a swamp and still be casting all of their cantrips, all of their Leovolds, Narsets, and all that other nonsense that you could do with Arkham's Astrolabe while avoiding giving us mana off the Carpet of Flowers. Now, if an opponent wants to cast a Ponder, they have to commit to fetching an island, which means that the Carpet is so much better and more likely to make more mana in those big blue control matchups.
Agreed. So, Alex, other than the blue decks, so we have a de emphasis on green. Why would we want to return to Bloodstained Mire? Like, do we want mountains more?
Yeah. So one of the cards that people theorized was depressed by Oko was Chalice of the Void, which is one of our least favorite cards to see on the opposite side of the table. And our best card to beat Chalice of the Void is Pulverize.
Ding.
Having access to all of our mountains is just so important when we need 2 of them consistently game after game.
For sure. So, Pulverize, we have 3 mountains. Fetching for them, very important. That's the gist of it. So, seeing the return of the 3-2 split. Alex, the rest of the mana base is the same. Our artifacts are actually the same too. So Chromox, Lion's Eye Diamond, Petal, Opal, all the same. Our artifact acceleration, it's kind of perfected at this point. We've been running this main deck since 10.8 for the most part. I think it's fairly optimized if I'm being completely honest. Would you agree with that?
Yep, we've made small alterations here and there based upon small metagame things, but for the most part, those metagame trends have been invalidated by either time or just other bannings.
For sure. Speaking of other bannings, Tundras of Agony is in the main deck. We learned that we loved the main deck Tundrils during the Luris era. And when Luris was gone, we decided to keep it around. So, Tendrils, if you're haven't been paying attention to the Epic Storm in some time, like if you're coming back to Legacy, it works really well with Witchclaw Talisman. So one of the goals is against blue decks, create a giant counter war with Veil of Summer and some of your other spells, and then just activate your Witchclaw Talisman, which cannot be countered by traditional counter spells, into a very large lethal Tundras of Agony.
hmm
And then Defense Grid and Veil of Summer are pretty typical protection spells. our deck is really built to abuse Veil of Summer, especially with Wishclaw Talisman. Defense Grid, I think its stock is about to go up. So the reason why is that Stifle's pretty good against the Epic Storm due to a number of reasons, and Defense Grid shuts that off. So Defense Grid, I think, is going to be very good. If Stifle continues to go up, I could see maybe those numbers changing, but that's not what we're here to talk about today. These protection spells protect Echo of Aeons. Alex, what doesn't protect Echo of Aeons?
Thoughtseize and other discard effects.
Correct.
So you'll notice in the sideboard that that's the one of the biggest changes, along with the decrease in carpets, is that the Thoughtseize has disappeared. Thoughtseize is generally one of the most medium sideboard slots. It does what you want it to do, but you're never excited that you have to Burning Wish for Thoughtseize or you have to board it in.
For sure.
It's
So,
one of those effects that we thought was necessary to beat Mindbreak Trap, but maybe that's not the case.
well, why is that? Why would you not need Thoughtseize to be Mindbreak? Like, Mindbreak is nuts against TES. So they say.
Yeah, we have the return of the Metal Bug, Hope of Ghirapur. Um, this is one of Bryant's favorite cards.
It's true. So Hope of Ghirapur allows you to beat Mindbreak Trap, even in matchups where you don't think you're supposed to be boarding in Hope of Ghirapur. And if you're interested in where you should be boarding in Hope of Ghirapur, the homepage of theepicstorm.com was actually updated today, February 23rd. And so here's the deck. This is, 11.6. And all of this, updated and whatnot, you'll find our new spreadsheet here for the fire bans. If you're interested in that, just click on this, make a copy, and you will have your own version of this spreadsheet for your own tracking purposes for the Epic Storm. In theory, you could even use it for Ant if you're an Ant pilot, but we recommend using it for the Epic Storm, obviously. And if you're not someone that uses Google Sheets, it is available in Excel formats. So blank template, make a copy is what you want. And as far as the sideboard guide goes, click on this link. It will load this page for you. This is a sideboard guide for 11.6. Alex and I worked on it today. We believe that these plans are very good. And you'll notice you do board in Hope in some places that you wouldn't expect. So make sure to follow this. Like right now, we're boarding it in against Cloudpost because of Mindbreak Trap. And it's a green deck we're boarding it in. We're boarding it in against some other weird decks as well. Like Alex, can you ever imagine boarding in Hope of Ghirapur against, like, I don't know, Doomsday?
Yeah, that sounds pretty good. It's almost a time walk there because they can't kill you after you've resolved the Hope of Ghirapur activation on their next turn. It seems pretty good to me to take that tempo back.
With most standard piles, yes. Theoretically, if they go like cycler, um, Oracle, that could probably get you. But that's a little bit nitpicky. So, Hope of Ghirapur, it's back. It's great. Let's go back to Magic Online. So, Hope is back. We talked about the reduction in Carpet of Flowers, Abrupt Decay. Alex, we were currently just playing 3 copies. We're now playing 2. How come?
Mostly the blue decks exploded and have no idea what they're supposed to be looking like. When we were able to finally tune and attack those blue decks, and we saw that they were playing 2, 3, 4 hate permanents in their sideboard, we increased our copies of Abrupt Decay to help combat that. With the blue decks being a lot more wishy-washy and unclear of what they're looking like, we returned back to 2 to be able to fit in an old favorite, Massacre, which helps beat the return of decks like Death and Taxes or Maverick, which again are big winners from the Yoko Thief of Crowns ban.
Well, we also saw Chain of Vapor come back, and that's a card that left to allow for 3 copies of Abrupt Decay. So in a wide open metagame, I do believe Chain of Vapor is a card you really want. It's versatile. You can use it for Storm Count by targeting your own permanents and then sacrificing your lands to bounce more of your own permanents. The card's just very versatile and very good with the main deck Tendrils of Agony, for what it's worth.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So, Massacre. You talked about Death and Taxes and Thalia and Maverick coming back. We don't like that. It does give you a main deck out to Mother of Runes into Thalia, which is great. You still have Grape Shot as a backdoor. Grape Shot does kill hate bears like Thalia, Collector Oof, Gadiki, but what else does it do, Alex? Why are we playing Grape Shot?
Grape Shot kills our opponent's Surveil of Summer. That's the main interaction that it's still here for. Getting up to 20 Storm is like pretty easy to do when you've drawn, 15, 20 cards off of Ad Nauseam. And having that out to Veil of Summer just always intrinsically available is one of the strengths of the Epic Storm.
All right, so Alex, I don't know if we have a whole lot more to discuss, but Empty the Warrens is a card that's been on the decline for some time now. We probably use it about 6% of the time. Why is that?
Empty the Warrens was really bad in the previous meta where opponents could draw multiple cards per turn, develop a lot of threats, gain a lot of life. So even if you emptied for 12 on turn 2, that was like almost unlikely to win the game. I've advocated at different times for cutting it from the list, but at this point where a lot of the hate bears that exist that people are playing are cards that prevent you from drawing more cards. So this means that if one of those is in play, such as Hull Breacher, you can't cast Echo Vions or Peer into the Abyss profitably. So you need something in your sideboard to go get with Burning Wish for when one of those is in play. And for right now, that card is Empty the Warrens.
For sure. So Empty is still on the board. We use it 6% of the time, like I said. So it's not zero. It's not the emphasis of the Epic Storm anymore. Like, we're a deck that's trying to kill you in one turn. We've been more successful with that than in the past. Part of that's due to some more recent printings in the last couple of years. But we're no longer an empty deck. So if you think of the Epic Storm as an empty deck, you're living in the past. Different era of the Epic Storm for sure. Alex, do you have any? Go ahead.
Unfortunately, the Grixis Goblins meme is dead.
Yeah, rip Black Belcher. Alex, do you have any final thoughts on this list of the Epic Storm?
I'm excited to keep changing things as the meta develops. As always, we're constantly looking for things to improve, slots to change. I don't expect this to be a final deck list. I myself am going to play this list for the next couple of weeks, see how things pan out, see which cards I like, see which cards I don't like. I'm excited to talk about it,
Yeah, I'm excited to play this list as well. Get back to playing some legacy challenges, hopefully do well in a few. I've been playing a lot of different formats recently, and I feel like I've improved a lot as a player due to that. But, legacy is where my heart is. Alex, I know there's a card that we're both looking forward to. Why don't we talk about it a little bit? I wasn't planning on doing this, but I think it might take slot number 15 in a couple months.
Yep. That card is Witherbloom Command, which was recently spoiled on a Wizards of the Coast weekly Magic stream. It's from the new set Strixhaven, so it's not even available for another 2 months or so, end of April. And that card costs green-black. It's a sorcery, which at first instinct is worse than...
I'm just going to look it up. I mean, you can still read it, but there we go. Boom.
Is worse than Abrupt Decay. But for our purposes, you can wish for it, and that's great. So option number 1 is target player mills 3 cards and return a land card from your graveyard to your hand. So this means that this card can effectively cost 1 mana by returning fetch lands or cards that have been wastelanded. And then the second option is basically an Abrupt Decay of destroy target non-creature, non-land permanent, read Chalice of the Void, with mana value 2 or less.
Deafening Silence.
Target creature gets that card too. Target creature gets -3/-1 until end of turn, and the last line of text is just the same as Tendrils. Target opponent loses 2 life, and you gain 2 life.
So what situations would you see yourself like burning wishing for this card? Like, why would you want this in your sideboard?
I would love to be able to destroy Thalia and Deafening Silence with 1 card, and this card does that. And I think that that's really important. It does have some notable misses. It doesn't kill Collector Roof or Stratosphere, but there are other things to do, like Grape Shot it.
Pulverize.
Mm-hmm.
So we do have other slots in our sideboard, but this one in particular, how you lose the hate bear matchups is you allow them to cascade, not literal the ability cascade, but cascade in the terms of what the actual word means of playing a 1 into a 2 into a 3 into a 4 that all impact you. Witherbloom Command allows you to catch up. So if they lead Deafening Silence into Thalia, you no longer just lose the game. You can play this longer game where you on turn 3 go get your command, turn 4 blow it up, and by then maybe they have no hate bears at all or hate interaction. But if they have one, then your Chain of Vapor or your Abrupt Decay can do cleanup duty.
Mm-hmm.
So I am looking forward to Witherbloom Command personally. I think it's probably going to be a staple in the Epic Storm sideboard. If I'm wrong, but I am really excited about Witherbloom Command.
Me as well.
So going back to Magic Online, but for now, this is what we have to work with. This is the Epic Storm 11.6. I hope you enjoyed this video. Alex, thank you for joining me. You've been great.
Yeah. See everybody.
Hey, Bryant Cook here. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please like and subscribe, but also follow the social media channels down below. If you want to support this content directly, I would recommend going to theepicstorm.com/shop. And if you need a little bit of assistance with the Epic Storm to get to that next level, I would recommend going to theepicstorm.com/tutoring. Don't worry, there's more great content coming right up.